My name is Sophia Wilson, and at 23, I had just graduated college with honors and achievement. That should have been my proudest moment. Instead, it turned into a nightmare dot at our celebratory dinner. My father raised his glass, smiling that familiar smile I had come to dread. "Congratulations," he announced, "but you're old enough now to start paying rent. Or move out." My mother sat silently beside him, nodding as if this ultimatum had already been decided. What they didn't know was that I had been preparing for this moment for months. What they didn't know was that I already owned a house, and the look on their faces the next day would be worth every dollar I had ever saved. Before I dive into how their shocking demand became the best decision of my life, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop it in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Growing up from the outside, we looked like the perfect middle-class American family. 4 bedrooms in suburban Pennsylvania. Family vacations every summer. Birthday parties with balloons and cake. Christmas mornings with presents stacked under the tree. But that picture-perfect illusion cracked when I was 15. Dad came home one evening with a stiff jaw and a forced smile. He had been laid off after 15 years as a systems analyst. Downsizing, they called it. Mom picked up more shifts at the library, but her income barely covered groceries, let alone the mortgage. "It's temporary," Dad told us at dinner. "I'll find something better," but something better never came. The months stretched into years. Dad worked low-paying jobs, his pride bruised beyond repair. At night, I'd pass by the glow of his computer screen, watching him scroll through job postings with clenched fists. Mom tried to hold things together, but bills kept stacking up on the kitchen counter. Arguments whispered through the walls became part of our nightly soundtrack. By 16, I knew I had to help. I got a job bagging groceries after school. My first paycheck was barely $100. But when I handed it to my mother, I saw the relief in her eyes. From then on, my income wasn't just helping. It became expected. Electricity bills, grocery money, even mortgage payments. By senior year, I was juggling 2 jobs 30 hours a week while still holding on to decent grades. Meanwhile, my younger brother Jake, 3 years younger, remained blissfully unaware. He played video games, asked for new consoles, and somehow there was always money for him when I needed work shoes. I bought them myself. When he wanted the latest gadget, my parents made it happen. "Let him enjoy his childhood," Mom would say. And so I did what no one else in my family would. I sacrificed mine. The silent burden college was my escape war. So I thought, with scholarships, I enrolled at the local state university, but I couldn't cut ties completely. Every weekend, I drove home to work shifts, sending money back for bills. Texts from my parents became constant. "The internet's about to get shut off. Can you send $200? Your dad's car needs $500 in repairs. We're short on the mortgage again. $800 should cover it." Each time I sent the money, and each time their gratitude quickly vanished, replaced by another demand. By sophomore year, I was sending home nearly 70% of what I earned. I wore the same clothes for years, bought used textbooks, and lived on ramen noodles. My roommate, Elaine, finally confronted me. "This isn't normal, Sophia," she said one night. "Most college students don't pay their parents' bills. Why isn't Jake helping. Why does your dad have a new TV while you're living off instant noodles? Her words stung because I didn't have an answer. That night, I opened a secret savings account. I started depositing just 20% of my earnings into it before my parents could ask. It wasn't much, but it was mine. The turning point by junior year. I met Harriet, a financial advisor who would change everything. She looked at my situation and laid it out bluntly. You've given your family over $30,000, Sophia, and they'll keep taking until you stop. You need boundaries, and you need to start building your own life. With her guidance, I learned to budget, invest, and most importantly, know. We created a plan. By senior year, I had saved enough for a down payment. In secret. I worked with a realtor. After months of searching, I found it a modest 2-bedroom bungalow with a fireplace and a little yard. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. My mortgage payments would be less than what Dad now demanded in rent. 3 months before graduation, I signed the papers. Only Elaine and Harriet knew. The confrontation graduation day came. My parents sat in the crowd, Mom beaming, Dad scrolling through his phone, Jake sulking. When I crossed the stage, the pride I felt was mine alone. That evening at dinner, Dad raised his glass to Sophia. Responsible, dependable, always thinking of her family first. Then his tone shifted. Graduation means adulthood, and adulthood means responsibilities. Your mother, and I think it's time you start paying $800 a month in rent, plus utilities. Of course, I stared at him, stunned. Dad, I've been paying bills since I was 16. I paid the mortgage last month. He waved me off. The past. We're talking about the future. You'll be making good money now. This is still cheaper than getting your own place. Jake smirked. Welcome to adult life, sis. The waiter brought the bill $178. My father slid it toward me. Your first adult expense. I paid without a word. But inside, something shifted. The last morning, that night, lying under the same glow-in-the-dark stars I'd stuck to my ceiling as a kid, I made my choice. At sunrise, I quietly packed my bags. By 7:30, everything I owned sat neatly by the door. My mother looked up from her coffee, startled. You're up early. Want some? No thanks, I said. I'm moving out today. Her cup froze halfway to her lips. What? Because of what your father said. He didn't mean you had to leave immediately. Yes, he did. And it's fine. I've been planning this for a while. It's time. That was the day my family's ultimatum backfired. They thought they were chaining me down with guilt and obligation. Instead, they pushed me into the freedom I had been quietly building toward for years, and for the first time in my life, I was free. Mom set her cup down slowly, her hand trembling just enough for me to notice. You can't just leave like this, Sophia. Where will you even go? I lifted my second suitcase from the stairs. I've already figured that out. Her eyes narrowed. You're not moving in with Elaine, are you? That girl doesn't have space for you. I'm not moving in with Elaine. Before she could press further, Dad walked into the kitchen, still in his robe. He froze when he saw the luggage stacked by the door. What's all this? I'm moving out, I said simply. His expression hardened. Don't be ridiculous. We were talking about rent, not eviction. Nobody asked you to leave this house today. You didn't have to, I replied evenly. You've been asking me to leave for years. I just didn't realize it until now. For the first time, my mother looked unsettled. My father's face flushed red. You're overreacting, he snapped. You don't know how hard it is to keep this house running. We've sacrificed plenty for you. You owe us. No, I interrupted, surprising even myself with the sharpness of my tone. I don't owe you. I've been paying your bills. Since I was 16, I've kept the lights on, the internet running, even helped with the mortgage, and now you want to charge me rent like I'm a tenant? No, Dad. That ends today. The kitchen went silent, save for the low hum of the refrigerator. You'll come crawling back in a month, he muttered finally. You can't afford to live on your own. I looked him square in the eye. Yes, I can. I carried the last of my boxers to my car, refusing to let their protests follow me down the driveway. My mother stood in the doorway, clutching her robe. My father didn't come out. Jake peeked from the window upstairs, smirking like it was all some big joke. As I slid into the driver's seat, a strange calm washed over me. For the first time, I wasn't driving away from Resposia. I was driving toward my own life. 20 minutes later, I pulled into the driveway of the little bungalow on Maple Street. The for sale sign had been gone for months, but the grass still bore the faint outline of where it once stood. My house, my space, my future. I unlocked the front door, stepping inside. The living room smelled faintly of fresh paint and possibility. I set my suitcase down on the bare floor and laughed an unshakable, giddy laugh that rose from somewhere deep in my chest. This wasn't just a house. It was proof that I didn't need to keep sacrificing myself to hold up people who only saw me as a crutch. Proof that I was stronger than their guilt. The calls started that afternoon. First Mom, then Dad, then Jake, mocking me with texts like, so how's your cardboard box? Finally, I answered one of Mom's calls. Sophia, please, come home. Your father didn't mean what he said. You're making a mistake. I'm not coming back, Mom. Where are you staying? She pressed. I smiled, glancing around my new living room where the sunlight streamed across the hardwood floor. I'm home. She didn't understand at first, but the next day, when they drove by Maple Street and saw my car in the driveway, reality hit. Dad stormed up the front porch, pounding on the door. You bought a house? His voice boomed through the thin glass. With what money? With our money. I opened the door slowly, steadying myself. With my money. The money I earned while you gambled, while Mom looked the other way, while Jake got whatever he wanted. I built this, not you. His face twisted, searching for a retort, but none came. Mom stood behind him, her expression unreadable. Jake stayed in the car, pretending to be on his phone. This isn't over. Dad hissed finally, double quotes. Yes, it is, I said. You wanted me to be an adult. Well, congratulations. I am. And I closed the door, the beginning of freedom that night. I sat on the floor of my empty living room, eating takeout straight from the carton. It didn't matter that the walls were bare, that I didn't even own a couch yet. What mattered was that for the first time, everything around me belonged to me. No more midnight texts for money. No more helping out just this once. No more being the family's financial safety net. I was done. And as I looked around at the space I had carved out for myself, I realized something powerful. Sometimes the people who push you down are the same ones who unknowingly push you toward your greatest freedom. This wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning. Asterisk, she trailed behind me as I went upstairs to grab the second suitcase. But where will you go? Do you even have a place lined up? You can't just leave without a plan. I couldn't help but smile. She still believed I wasn't capable of planning anything without their involvement. I have a place, I said simply, stacking the second suitcase next to the first. By then, the commotion had stirred my father. He appeared in the hallway, hair tousled, robe cinched unevenly. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Sophia says she's moving out," my mother explained, wringing her hands. Dad's gaze darted to the suitcases, then back to me, giving way to irritation. "Because of last night. For God's sake, we were just talking about responsibility. There's no need to make this so dramatic." "This isn't about last night," I said evenly, heading back upstairs for another box. "I've been planning this for months. I start a new job on Monday, and I need to be settled before then." "A new place?" He followed me up the stairs, his voice rising. "You can't afford that yet. You should be saving first." The irony nearly made me laugh. He, of all people, lecturing me about savings when he had drained mine for years. "It's all taken care of," I said, lifting a box of books. "I've been saving. His voice thundered. "How could you save while helping us with bills?" I didn't answer. I focused on carrying my things downstairs. My mother was perched on the bottom step, looking dazed. My younger brother Jake had emerged from his room, watching quietly, more attentive than usual. "The movers will be here at 9, I announced, checking my watch. "I just need everything downstairs before they arrive." "Movers?" My mother's voice was faint. "Sophia, this is so sudden." Sudden to them, maybe. To me, it was years in the making, years of quiet realization, months of planning, but they'd never imagined that I might actually build a life separate from theirs. "You'll still help with the bills, right?" my father asked, his anger shifting into concern. And there it was. Not fear for my well-being, not sadness at my leaving, just worry about money. "No," I said. Just one word. It felt like betrayal and liberation all at once. The silence that followed was heavy. My father's face flushed. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Jake glanced between us, his expression slowly shifting as if he were finally piecing things together. "You can't just abandon your family." "Di è dispatato." "I'm not abandoning anyone," I replied, calm and firm. "I'm starting my own life. Isn't that what you always said you wanted for me?" At 9 sharp, the moving truck arrived. 2 men worked efficiently, loading my belongings. I did one last sweep of my room and found my mother standing in the doorway, looking smaller somehow. "I didn't realize how little you have," she said softly. It was the closest she had ever come to acknowledging the imbalance between us. I hugged her briefly before heading downstairs. My father was already arguing with the movers about where they parked. Dad, I interrupted, I'm leaving now. I'll call in a few days once I'm settled. His face twisted, anger and disbelief colliding. This is how you repay us. After everything we've done for you, you run away the moment we ask for help. The injustice of his words hit me hard, but instead of arguing, I handed him an envelope. What's this? He asked. My new address, in case of emergencies, I said, and a record of every financial contribution I've made to this household. Over the last 7 years, you might want to review it before we talk again. Then I walked out the door, climbed into my car, and followed the moving truck toward my new beginning. At 9:45, the truck pulled up in front of a modest blue bungalow. My bungalow? My house. The word still felt foreign in my head. The paint was faded. The porch sagged a little, the gutters needed work, but it was mine. Every imperfection felt like freedom. The movers unloaded quickly. When I signed the clipboard, one of them glanced at the empty space. That's it. Nothing else coming. No, I replied, just starting out. Best way to do it? His partner nodded. No clutter, fresh start. When they left, I stood in the middle of the bare living room, overcome by the silence. Later that afternoon, a neighbor appeared, an older woman with silver hair and kind eyes, Doris Abernathy, from next door. Kaseroru in hando, moving days exhausting. She smiled. Everyone needs to eat. Her warmth made me feel less alone. She spoke of tulips and daffodils planted long ago that would bloom in my garden next spring. The thought of those flowers rooted in history, yet waiting to greet me, gave me a strange comfort. By evening, my new furniture had been delivered: a bed, a couch, a small dining table. That night, lying awake in my unfamiliar house, I felt both terror and exhilaration. But under it all was one undeniable truth. I had done this. I was free. The weekend passed in a blur of unpacking and cleaning. By Monday morning, I was walking into my first day at Meridian Marketing, nerves buzzing under the surface. Orientation, paperwork, a flood of new faces. It was exhausting, but exhilarating. For the first time in years, the money I earned would belong to me. But my family wasn't going to let go easily. By Tuesday, my father's texts began. The electricity bill is overdue. Internet bill is past. Dujik needs it for schoolwork. Sophia, you can't just ignore your responsibilities. On Wednesday, my mother called during my lunch break. Honey, her voice was tight with worry. I know you want independence, and I respect that. But the bills? Your father is very stressed. Could you just help us out one more time? Mom, I said gently, I've been helping out one more time for 7 years. It has to stop. Dad needs to figure out how to manage without my income. Her voice trembled. But the power might be shut off tomorrow. The internet already has been. Jake has a paper due. The guilt hit me instantly. My first instinct was to cave, to rescue them yet again. But then I heard Harriet's voice in my head, the one who had coached me through setting boundaries. This pattern will continue as long as you allow it. I'm sorry. Mom, I said firmly, I can't help anymore. Dad has a job. You have a job. You'll figure this out. On Thursday evening, the doorbell rang. When I opened it, my entire family stood there, my father's anger radiating, my mother anxious. Jake Dukingo Uniji, so this is where you live now? Dad asked, pushing past me to peer into the house. You bought a house? Yes, I said calmly. Would you like to come in? They filed into the living room. My father prowled, opening doors, inspecting the place like an appraiser. My mother sat gingerly on the edge of the couch. Jake wandered into the kitchen and opened my fridge without asking. How did you afford this? Dad demanded. Where did the money come from? I saved, I replied evenly. And I qualified for a first-time homebuyer program. Saved. His voice rose. You gave us every spare penny. Not every penny, I corrected. I put something aside for my future. I've been doing it for years. So you led, he snapped. All those times you said you were broke. You were hiding money. Outside, I could see neighbors pretending not to watch. Doris was out watering her flowers, her concerned gaze flicking toward us. I never lied, I said firmly. I contributed thousands to this household, but I also protected myself because no one else was going to. We're your parents, Mom whispered. We've always protected you. Have you? I asked, locking eyes with her. Or did you protect Dad and his poor financial choices at my expense? Her gaze dropped to her hands. The power was shut off this afternoon, Dad interjected, desperation bleeding through his anger. The fridge is full of food that'll spoil. Is that what you want? Of course not, I said. But it was never my responsibility to fix this. It shouldn't have been in the first place. Jake reappeared, scowling. So what? You're just going to let us suffer because you're mad about rent. That's cold, Sophia. This isn't about rent, I said, my voice rising. This is about 7 years of me paying for everything while Dad gambled, while Mom enabled, and while you never lifted a finger. The word gambling landed like a bomb. Jake turned to Dad, confusion in his eyes. Mom's tears spilled over. You don't know what you're talking about, Dad muttered, but his face had gone pale. I know about the casinos, the online poker, the loans, I said quietly. That's not gambling, he snapped weakly. It's just recreation. Recreation doesn't drain a family dry, I replied. Jake stared at him, stunned. Is that true? Is that why we're always broke? Mom stayed silent, which was answered enough. I walked to the dining table and opened my laptop. Here's the truth, I said, turning the screen toward them. A spreadsheet glowed on the screen. Every contribution I've made since I was 16. Every bill, every grocery run, every transfer. The total is $87,342. Mom gasped. Dad's face darkened. Even I felt the weight of that number, seeing it laid out. Jake scrolled through, his eyes narrowing. You paid for my graduation party. Dad said he saved for it. I paid for a lot of things he claimed credit for. I said quietly, birthday gifts? Christmas presents? Car repairs? Jake's face hardened as he turned on them. She was just a kid, and you made her carry all of this. Why didn't you tell me? We wanted to protect you, Mom whispered. Protect me. Jake's voice cracked. You left her to drown. Dad tried to recover control. What matters now is we're in crisis. We need help. I closed the laptop. I'll help, but not with money that hasn't worked for 7 years and it won't start now. What does that mean? Dad asked suspiciously. It means I'll help you build a budget. It means Dad gets treatment. It means Mom stops enabling and Jake starts contributing like I did at his age. Dad scoffed. Gambling addiction is a strong word. Is it? I asked quietly. How much have you lost this year alone? How many times have you promised to stop? He had no answer. I own this house outright, I said, watching their eyes widen. No mortgage. I saved, and my employer gave me a signing bonus. I've been planning for this since I was 16. I'm not your safety net anymore. The reality settled over them like a weight. So that's it? Dad asked, his voice cracking. You're cutting us off completely. No, I'm giving you a choice, I said. Option 1, I help you build a financial plan. Dad seeks treatment. Mom takes control of the household finances. Jake contributes. We rebuild on healthier terms. Option 2, you keep living the way you always have without my support. The silence was suffocating. I want option 1, Jake said firmly. I already applied for a job. Mom's eyes softened, tears still on her cheeks. I want option 1 too. I should have been stronger years ago. I'm sorry, Sophia. All eyes turned to Dad. He stood rigid, his pride warring with necessity. You really own this house? He asked again. Yes, and we might lose ours, he admitted, voice breaking. The second mortgage you took out without telling Mom is catching up, I said, revealing more than they realized I knew. Mom's head snapped toward him. Second mortgage? You said it was just a small loan. His shoulders sagged. The fight drained out of him. I'll try option 1, he whispered, but I don't have a problem. I can stop anytime. That's the first problem we'll address, I said. When they left, I paid for one night at a nearby motel one night. Nothing more. A buffer, not a bailout, as their car pulled away. I felt a strange mix of guilt, sorrow, hope, but above all, freedom. For the first time, the truth was out. 3 months later, everything had changed. Dad was attending Gamblers Anonymous 3 times a week. It wasn't easy. His denial ran deep, but he was finally confronting the truth. Mom had taken a full-time job and found her own support group. She admitted to me one afternoon, tears in her eyes. I thought I was keeping the peace, but I was just enabling. I failed you, Sophia. Jake had stepped up too, working part-time, contributing to bills, and even calling out our parents when old habits I never realized how much you did for us, he told me one night. I'm sorry for being so blind. As for me, my life finally felt like mine. I was thriving at work, promoted within 2 months. My little blue house was slowly transforming painted walls, new curtains, flowers blooming in the front yard with Doris's guidance. I was even dating again, something I never had time or energy for before. And once a week, my family came to dinner at my house, not to take from me, not to demand, but to be together. One evening, as dessert plates were cleared, Dad spoke quietly. I got a new job. Better pay, room for advancement. His eyes glistened as he looked at me. I couldn't have done it without you. Your tough love saved us even when we hated you for it. For the first time, I felt truly seen not as a wallet, but as a daughter. Standing on my porch that night, watching their car pull away, I realized something vital. Real love isn't about rescuing people at your own expense. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back and let them rescue themselves. Life wasn't perfect. We still stumbled, but we were healing together, and for the first time in years, I felt at peace.